Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now, no prizes for guessing where we are today. We're at the Classic Motor Show at the NEC, and it's bigger than ever, and there's more people than ever, so we've got to get going. Now, if you haven't already heard, we've got the opportunity of a lifetime. How do you fancy a 1972 MGB-GT for just £2? That is actually what's being offered by the National Motor Museum, the Bewley Motor Museum. Kevin, tell me about it.
Yes, hello there. Well, I'm Kevin. I'm a volunteer at the National Motor Museum, and I'm privileged to work there. I'm privileged to offer this car. The first time we've offered a classic car for quite a long time, actually. Prior to this, we've generally given away a modern car for our raffle prize, a Mini Cooper or a Mini. But this year we thought we'd change it, and we thought we'd offer what is really a British classic. Everyone loves an MGB. And wonderful spares availability, that sort of thing. And I have to say that the actual take-up on the tickets has well exceeded the previous year's take-up on tickets for the modern car.
Judging from the information board, it's a heritage shell, so it's been properly restored. And I gather it's got servicing included, the first year's servicing included.
First year's servicing included, and insurance. It's basically been restored by a company called Milestone Classics, which is in the rear window. It will have a little bit of remedial work because it's been on display at our museum. It's picked up a few little knocks and scratches. That will all be attended to prior to its lucky new owner. But we're very excited about it. And if I didn't mention it before, it's March next year, the draw. We've done well today selling tickets, and once it leaves here, it'll go back and probably unlikely to come out again until the draw in March.
Right, well, that's excellent. So if you can, get along to the National Motor Museum. It's a really good day out anyway, if you see these guys at the show. But if you can't, or if you're in another country, because we do have a lot of viewers in another country, you can go on the website. I'll put the website details in the description. You can go on the website. That'll give you all the details. Give them a ring, buy some tickets, and you might even win a lovely MGB-GT. Now, Bewley also has a lot of lovely, lovely cars, including this one. It's a 1909 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. Just look at it, the metalwork, the quality. Unbelievably, this car in 1909 was just £985. I don't reckon you could get a garage for it for a month for that now. Well, we've arrived at the MG Car Club stand, and I've managed to catch up with Lorraine Noble-Thompson, who is the new chairman. Yes. So Lorraine, tell me, what's in store?
Well, it's been a whirlwind month so far, because I was at the AGM, I was voted in by our council, and it actually was the 12th of October, which is a very significant day of the MG Car Club, because in 1930 it was the inaugural meeting, so it all seems to fit. It's great.
Absolutely. First female chairman.
Absolutely, yes. Chairman, of course. So exciting things ahead. Also, I've already noticed, certainly from yesterday, the buzz that has changed within the club, so a new broom, so to say, but it's evolution, not revolution. We've already launched our car club's insurance, which is behind us here, and the benefits that they're doing is excellent. Second to none. We're looking at the young members, so it's 17-year-olds, which is great, and we can bring them on and grow our sort of members.
So that's one of the sort of key things of your chairmanship, is to try and increase the young members?
Absolutely. It's not launched yet, but we're looking at a board that sits under the board. Obviously, we have to put it to our council, and that would be up to 35-year-olds. So it's run like a board, so it's a shadow board, mentored by the main board, right. And it's a grow your own board, really.
Excellent. Well, that all sounds really, really exciting. And I've also noticed there seems to be kind of more merchandise on the stand this year.
Yes, merchandise, obviously, they're very popular, the beanies, etc. But we want members to come and tell us what they would like. We had some members yesterday with mats, car mats. Do you do car mats? Yes, we can. Yeah. You tell us what you want and we can help supply it.
Absolutely.
And that's where we need to be. Parts as well. Obviously, we don't do spare parts, but a lot of our traders do. And if you tell us what you need, we can talk to them on your behalf.
Now, another part of the MG Car Club is the young members section. And last year we talked to Emma and Kieran who are in there, and I found another Kieran who's got this lovely MGB-GT. So Kieran, tell me about your car.
It's a bit of an interesting car. It came over from Ireland for the show. We drove it over there on Thursday. It was about a 400-mile trip. Car, well, look, it all went well. Nothing really went wrong. It's been I suppose, a labour of love. We've done a lot of work on it in the last while. We had it resprayed recently. It's a little bit unique in the fact that it's one of only a few cars that were assembled in Ireland in a company called the Britain Group in Dublin. And then it's the only car that I'm aware of that was ever sold into Tipperary, which is why it has this HI number plate. I suppose, look, it helps justify the amount of money you spend on them, and it's, you know, it's all part of the fun of it, I suppose. And we went to France with the young members group this year. That was about a 3,000-mile round trip. And yeah, you know, she performs well. And as I said, she's got an interesting history. She was a hill climb car for a while, and she still retained some of her high lift cams and HS6 carbs and whatever else was fiddled around with. And yeah, she's good.
So it goes quite well.
She goes quite well, yeah. Especially given her age.
Yeah, absolutely. So why, for a young chap like yourself, why an MGB GT?
I suppose it's kind of a family thing. Like my dad always had a Triumph TR6, and I suppose we rebuilt that together when I was younger. And you know, typically as a kid, you're holding the flashlight and you're just doing the small bits and pumping the pedals, for the brakes and the clutch, but you're learning, and that's the important thing. And then I suppose once I got my license, I went, yeah, I want to get a classic, a British classic, and I looked at a few MGs, and they weren't letting me drive them because we have a bit of a thing with insurance in Ireland with classics. It doesn't really happen. But Dad drove them all, and he drove this one, and he just goes, yeah, this has got a bit more poke than the rest, and so we bought it, and just so happened it was a local car with the HI plate, and then the passion began, and we worked on it, and we got it right, and here we are.
So the big news from the MG Car Club this year is that they've launched a new insurance scheme for members. And on the face of it, it looks really good. It's in association with Peter James Insurance. And I've got Dave Youngs with me, who's from Peter James. Tell us more about it. So, Dave, tell us about the scheme.
Good morning. We've been speaking to the MG Car Club. We've been working on the scheme for probably getting on for a year now. The club were absolutely determined from day one. They wanted the very best MG insurance scheme on the market, regardless of club membership, regardless of insurer, packed full of benefits that they've actually worked through and spoken to members about. So it's not just at the point of being the cheapest on the market. It's an absolute benefit-led policy. That's also important that it covers all of their members. Yeah, right from the youngsters, as we can see over here with their classic MGs, right through to the owners of modern EVs as well.
That's fantastic. So it's very wide in scope. What other bonuses are there? I did see track days.
We will cover track days that are organised by the club. So the club have got MGs on track as a subsidiary, if you like. Sure. Yeah, most insurers would run a mile from covering track day events, but we looked at how they were ran, and they were ran really well. They're marshalled really well, and that little bit of additional risk to us, it was a risk we were happy to take. So in the bigger picture, we'll cover them for track day cover too. That's
excellent. Yeah, because I've done a few track days and never risked insuring, thinking it would be so expensive. So to have it included is a really good thing. And another thing I noticed was salvage, because obviously sometimes cars get written off perhaps too quickly because of labour charges. Yes. Well, of course, if you're doing the work yourself, the labour charges don't count. So you've got a special deal on salvage as well, is that right?
We offer a salvage retention policy. I mean, lots of insurers will advertise salvage retention as part of their marketing, but what does that really mean? Salvage, typically if a car gets written off, you get the option to buy the salvage back, and that can be around about 35% of that vehicle's agreed value. But we're different with our scheme. We'll actually pay out the full agreed value of the vehicle, and that member can have the salvage back completely free of charge.
That's a really good benefit, isn't it?
I mean, it is, and it can also help keep other classics on the road. The car may not be able to be returned to the road, but it can be a donor to others, and it's all about preserving our heritage, isn't it? Transport heritage.
Absolutely. Well, you've sold it to me. How do I go about getting this insurance? What do people do?
I mean, it is exclusive to MG Car Club members. So firstly, you're going to need to be a member of the club.
Sure.
You can hit up our advert in the magazine or just give us a call on the bespoke club telephone number.
I guess the website, there's some information on the website as well.
Absolutely, of course, yes.
Now, one of the things that's of big concern to classic owners and MGB owners probably in particular is the amount of ethanol in fuel. So as I was walking past this stand, it's branded Sunoco, I noticed ethanol-free fuel. So I caught up with Anders, who's going to tell us all about it. Anders, what's ethanol-free fuel? I can buy it now?
Yes, you can buy it now, and we specifically designed it for classic cars and classic bikes, because the problem is when the car sits, especially when they sit still in storage, is that the fuel turns acidic. The ethanol absorbs the moisture and it forms a type of bacteria called acetobacter, and that is very acidic, and it starts to corrode the fuel system and causes a lot of issues, running issues in the long term. So that's why we thought it's a market here. We design race fuels for Sunoco, the Sunoco brand. We supply major championships in the UK and in Europe, a lot of historic championships, and those fuels are ethanol free. So we thought, we can make a fuel here that is really, really good for this market. And so we've been doing it for 2-3 years now, and we're getting more and more traction with the fuel.
Okay, so it's mainly not for running all the time necessarily, but when you're going to store your classic, is that right?
Yes, but you can run it all the time. The only downside is the cost. It's more expensive because it's a specialist fuel.
Sure.
It has very few components in it. It has a higher octane than your super unleaded. There's, of course, no ethanol. There's no unwanted hydrocarbons. It's mainly single-bonded hydrocarbons. It burns extremely cleanly. So for those who don't use the vehicles that much, leave it in all the time, and you will have a car that runs really well. But we totally agree, understand that it's more expensive. So we don't. If you, let's say you do 4,000 or 5,000 miles with your classic car during the summer, you have an additive from driven racing oil that you can put in that mitigate and helps against the ethanol issue. But when you put it in storage, you need to use the storage fuels that we have designed.
And obviously run it through the fuel system to make sure that all the pipes and everything have the ethanol-free stuff.
Absolutely, because you need to make sure that the new fuel, the storage fuel goes through, which is ethanol-free. Sure. And it's also important, some people say, I drain it all out, it's all dry. The problem with that is that the rubbers and the seals will dry out. So when you put fuel in, you get fuel leakage everywhere. So you need to have fuel in the system.
Okay, so you said it was more expensive. Roughly, what does it cost compared with pump fuel?
Well, the pump fuel today is about $1.45 a litre. This is it's $4.60 a litre. So yes, it's much more expensive. But if you have a fuel-related issue, let's say you have to change the carburetor or the fuel pump, suddenly you're into hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So in the long run, this actually saves you money. Yeah,
but I mean, if you put 4 or 5 litres in, drained it quite low with the normal stuff, 4 or 5 litres in, that'll protect it all through the winter. So for 25, 30 quid, that's not a bad deal, really.
Exactly. If you buy, and it comes in a 10-litre can or a 200-litre drum if you've got loads of vehicles. But the thing is that you said the 10-litre can, you use 5 litres to the system, then you have the rest of the 5 litres for next year. You can do the same thing again. And you can just top up with normal fuel on top of the storage fuel, because that's a question we had throughout these 2 days. Can I run on it? Can I mix it with normal petrol? Yes, you can.
Now, they often say that an Aston Martin DB5 is the poor man's MGB, or is it the other way round? I think it is, because this one is probably the nicest one in the world. And my MGB at best is 15 grand. This at auction would start at £500,000. So we're still on the Aston Martin Owners Club stand, and I've run into Trevor, who has an Aston Martin V8 Vantage, but rumour has it that his wife's got an MGB. Trevor, tell me more.
Well, it's been in the family since 1976. My wife's father bought it shortly after his wife died, and he wanted to make himself cheer up a bit. and we've had it ever since. He had it until he was 80, and in the year 2000, the tin worm had got it, and it needed a bit of renovation, so he gave it to us. We've spent an inordinate amount of money on it.
I know that feeling.
That's right. And we were thinking of selling it recently, but then when we told our daughter, she said, "You can't sell that. It's Granddad's car." So we're having it fettled again, and hopefully it'll be handed on down the generations.
So, nice summer's day. You've got the V8 Vantage at one corner of the garage and the MGB-GT in the other corner of the garage. Which car do you take?
Now that's a difficult one. Well, if the sun's out, we take the Aston, I have to tell you. But my wife uses the MGB, and she enjoys driving it, and that's the main thing.
Now, we're in the hallowed turf of the auctioneer area. Normally, you've got to pay quite a lot of money for this, but the kind man on the door, we managed to blag our way in. There are some beautiful cars here, some really nice ones. I've just seen an Escort RS2000 for £100,000. That's what their estimate is. So I found a B. It is actually the more modern one, the RV8, but it looks in reasonable condition, M registered, and it's available for 15 to 18,000. So somebody could actually get a bargain here. Now, one of the challenges for a home restorer is actually doing the interior. And to be honest, when I decided to revamp the interior of my GT, I bought new seats, and I bought them from MG Owners Club. And as luck would have it, they were actually made by this chap's company, Newton Commercial. This is Jonny Newton. Jonny, tell me about the company.
So we've been established now for 46 years. My mum and dad set it up in 1979 as a hobby business, and they started off doing commercial vehicles, hence why it's called Newton Commercial. But now they specialised in the early 80s to MG, to Triumph, to Mini, and we've expanded into other makes. But MG is our stable, and we supply most of the trade here in the UK and the rest of the world.
Excellent. And so you produce the stuff and you actually make the seats. So a finished seat comes out of your workshop to Rimmer, MGOC and those sort of people?
Absolutely. So we do all the trim. So we'll do all the seat covers, the foams, we'll do all the panel kits, we'll do the carpets, and we do it all to the original specification. So if you had a certain red or a certain different colour piping, if it was a welded design, we've got all the tooling set up over 45 years. We've managed to do that. So we can replicate exactly what was in the car back in the 60s and the 70s. So we also customise, and we'll do different colours, quirky colours. But today on the Rimmer stand, what we're doing is an MGB Mark 1 in our Matador Red.
That's excellent. And I imagine that you're using more modern materials, so the foams are better now than they were 50 years ago?
Well, exactly, yeah. We've got, we're still using the same actual shapes, but yeah, obviously all the components, that go into the raw materials now are a lot better, with all the fire retardancy and durability, and they last a lot longer.
Yeah, so it's funny watching your chap do the work here. It's he makes it look very easy, and I'm sure it's not.
Well, to be fair, one of the reasons we've come on the Rimmer stand and to show, the people that are watching here behind the camera is you can do it. We've done YouTube videos, we've got pictorial fitting instructions, and although Tom's been doing it for 21 years, he started with me as an apprentice, and he could do it with his eyes shut. What we're trying to show here today is that you can do it, and you just need to take your time, do it in a nice warm workshop, have all your components, and ideally get brand new components. So get all the foams, get the diaphragms, and prepare the frames correctly, and it can be done in a workshop.
Yeah, and of course much cheaper than actually going out and doing what I did, which is buying new seats.
Well, exactly, but that is what a lot of people want. They want actually a brand new seat where actually they know that they don't have to do any work. They can simply just bolt that straight into the original, holes on the subframe. So, two ways of doing it. DIY, do it yourself, use the original frames. But, a lot of people now are, getting the Suffolk seats, and actually they look fantastic, as you know, because you've got some.
I certainly have. Yeah, and in terms of business, where is it going? Is there plenty of business, plenty of people wanting refurbed seats, new seats?
Well, it's interesting, yeah. So we've got over, 45 people working in our factories in Leiston in Suffolk, and having been established for a long time now, we've built up, a customer base all around the world. So we export 40%. So America's a big market, and we supply into there. But obviously the British classics, they travelled well around the world. So Australia, Japan is a big market for us, South Africa, Canada, but we send stuff all over the place. And if you imagine, your MGB may be 40, 50,
51 years old, I think. Yeah.
51 years old. So those seats do perish, and people are getting to it. The car's worth an investment now. It's worth enough money for people to actually invest into a pair of seats that will cost anything between £1,000 and £2,000. But for comfort and durability and safety, they tend to go for the brand new seat.
Yeah, that's what I've done. So, viewers, if they wanted one of your seats or one of your covers, go to one of the usual suppliers: Rimmer, Moss, MGOC.
Absolutely. So we supply all the big traders as well as smaller restorers. Newton Commercial predominantly supplies the MG and the Triumph to these guys, but we do a lot of other stuff as well, whether it's Mini or VW, and we do a lot of French and hot hatches. So, take a look at our website, Newton Commercial, and see what we do.
Now, I found a rather nice MGB-GT, and funnily enough, it's owned by Andrew Smith, who is the incoming chair of the MGs on Track. So first of all, Andrew, tell us about your car.
Well, this is a 1967 Mark I GT, one of the early GTs with the roof. This car does track days, not all the track days, got to look after it a bit. But it has done them. It's really good. It's good fun to drive. It's great fun to drive through corners. Just good fun.
Yeah, and you don't spin it like I do.
No, I haven't. I spin the TF. I don't spin this one.
Well, that's right. I was gonna say that on the track days that I've been on with you, you've been with a TF. So how do you choose which car to drive?
Well, for me, I do this. This one does Anglesey because I love driving it to Anglesey. And it does Goodwood because it's the traditional old track. It's not, the TF is a more fun car maybe when it's hilly because it's got power.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So incoming chair of the MG on Track. So what's happening with MGs on Track next year? Usual stuff?
Yeah, we're kind of doing the same stuff. We're maybe changing some of the tracks we do because of availability, because we like doing things on a Monday, and not all the tracks can do Monday, so we have to shift around a little bit. So, yes.
Excellent. Well, best of luck, and hope to see you on another track day soon.
And you.
And if anybody decides that they want to have a go on a track day, I've got to recommend these guys because it is really good fun. They're really well organised, and you don't feel kind of like a crap driver like I am. You don't feel embarrassed about it. Now, one of the sad facts of having an MGB is that it's often going to need some welding. So I thought, why not find out about welders? And I'm with Dom from RTech. Dom, you obviously sell these things. Tell me a bit more about what you do.
All right, so we're RTech Welding. We make TIGs, MIGs, plasmas, arc welders, everything in between. For you guys, I'd probably be looking at our MIG welders. These are kind of set up for like panel work and chassis work. We've kind of made our machines as easy as possible so you guys can just crack on with your welding your car. That's kind of what we do here. We make everything for fab.
Okay, now I'm not a welder. I don't really understand welding. What is MIG welding?
MIG welding. So MIG welding stands for metal inert gas.
Right.
So when you're MIG welding, you'll have a MIG welding torch, and the machine will feed the wire through the machine and out the torch. Basically, the filler wire will fuse the material, obviously you're basically sticking pieces of metal together at the end of the day. So that's all it does, really.
So this sort of machine would be okay for any sort of normal car welding on a classic car?
Absolutely, especially this one. Nice and easy to use. You simply tell the machine what you want it to do, and it will set its own volts and wire speed. Just a simple rule of thumb, really. If you're doing panel work, use 0.6 wire. If you're doing chassis work, use 0.8 wire. It's as easy as that, really.
Excellent. And dare I ask, what does one of these cost?
So what is the show price on these ones? Now you're asking me. We'll do it with a helmet, some wire, and some bits and bobs, 600 quid.
Right, that sounds pretty good value. Yeah. And in terms of, and this is going to seem a silly question, but a complete idiot, how difficult is it to do this sort of welding? Is it really difficult? Should I get training, or is it something you can do by trial and error?
It's all time on tools at the end of the day. With these new ones, we have made it as easy as possible. With these ones, you simply tell it what the wire size is, what the work thickness is, and it takes all of the guesswork out of it. MIG is probably the easier out of TIG and MIG, but it's just time on the tools at the end of the day. Everyone will get there in the end.
Now this car brings back memories. Again, not an MGB, it's before I could afford an MG. It's a Ford Fiesta XR2 Mark II. And I had one in the late 80s, so nearly 40 years ago. And it's really nice to see them being preserved, but I guess mine's gone to that great scrapyard in the sky probably. Now, one of those firms I've been keeping an eye on is Retronics. They do lots of interesting electronic gizmos for your classic car, things like hazard warnings. And the thing that's interesting for me is an intermittent wiper switch or system. I occasionally take mine out in the rain now, only if it's very light rain, and I'm constantly switching their wipers on and off, and frankly, it's a bit of a pain. So I think I'm going to invest in a wiper timer kit from them, and maybe I'll even be able to fit it. Now, one of the criticisms that's been levelled at the classic car community is full of grey-haired old men. So I thought I'd better catch up with James, who is an MGB owner. He owns a 1970. Yeah. So James, tell me about the car.
So it's a bronze yellow MGB-GT. Got it about 7-8 months ago now, and really enjoying taking it to car shows, getting out and about in it. It's a lovely car to drive. Really enjoy it.
So why an MGB-GT?
I mean, they're popular classic. They're nice to drive. I've wanted one since I was sort of 13, 14 years old, so it's been a nice car to have, yeah.
Excellent. And what about maintenance? Because obviously, I mean, people that are regular viewers of the channel will know how much money I spent on mine.
Yeah, so I paid a decent amount for it, but it hasn't needed ridiculous amounts doing, so I've had to do some fuel lines, oil filter, oil change, sort of just standard stuff, water, thermostat housing, coolant pipes, just sort of basic stuff to get it replenished and driving nice again.
Yeah, so you're a member of either of the clubs, the Owners Club or Car Club?
So I'm a member of the MG Owners Club.
Right.
I've been a member of there since I got the car.
Right. It's worth joining the car club as well, the MG Car Club, because they're both equally, you know, most owners tend to be members of both, you know, because they've offered lots of good offers, and there's obviously insurance. I guess you're on the young side, so insurance is an issue?
It's not too bad. So I'm with Adrian Flux. They're pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it's going to be expensive for a classic car. So I think I pay about $1,100, which is quite a lot. I mean, my daily drive is a lot less than that, so it does add up. But I've got about 3,000-4,000 miles a year on that car because I do quite a lot of driving in it. I try and get out and about in the summer in the shows and really get to use it.
But that's frightening. You'll probably hit me when I tell you mine's about 130 quid, but I'm a little bit older. And
yeah, my uncle's had lots of classic cars. He's had Morris Minors, Austin 7s, and he pays about £200-300 for his insurance. It's just like, I have to pay a lot more, but it does make it worth it to get to drive and be out and about in shows with it.
So there you go. That's a trip round the show. 10,000 steps, lots of fantastic classics, lots of autojumble and lots of, well, everything really. I must give a big shout out to my crew, Holly and Josh, my two children, who have been absolutely brilliant today, helping me, cameras and cutting lots of kit about and lots of stuff. So many thanks, guys. Really appreciated. If you've enjoyed the video, as always, give it a share, give it a like, and if you like it that much, it'd be great if you'd subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching and take care.